So a little bit about me, and then we're going to go straight into the Magdalen, because she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. Just a little bit about me. If you're wondering about this form, my family's from Puerto Rico, so I'm a little short, brown-skinned Puerto Rican woman. And then my parents, one set of grandparents moved to New York, and then I was born there. They call me New York Puerto Rican. So when you're born in New York, of Puerto Rican families, you're a New Yorican. So I'm a New Yorican. Then I moved out to, fast forward, I moved out to Orange, California. And that's where I live now, in a beautiful seaside city of Encinitas, which is a few minutes from the beach. And when I moved there last year, I didn't know where exactly I was until I turned the corner and I saw Calle Magdalena, which is the Magdalen Street. And right behind me is the Magdalena YMCA, which is kind of amazing that I'm there. So I've established there a Temple of the Magdalene, because my work is with the Magdalene. My grandfather was the pioneer of a Puerto Rican Pentecostal movement. So my background is this Spanish Puerto Rican Pentecostal on one side. On the other side is Catholicism. Any Catholics here? Or background Catholicism, former Catholics. And then on the other side, my grandmother, mi abuelita, she was into the herbs. She was into doing really a lot of spiritual magic and earth wisdom, and she taught me how to read the stars. So that's my background. And then the other part, through my father, was this called Santeria and Espiritismo. So that's the ability to connect with the saints and then create lots of magic through different ceremonies. So that's my background. And then, because of my background with this huge religious background, I became a minister. So I became an ordained minister in a very conservative church. So even though it was conservative, they ordained me as a woman and kept that ordination for a long time. So I studied the Bible back and forward from Genesis to Revelation about 20 times. I went to Bible school and I studied, married a man who was a minister. That was kind of hard. That was intense. But it was a great lesson for me in learning to really love, really deeply love the divine one within. So here was this very difficult marriage, and I learned to see God in him, and that's what helped me to survive 10 years of a loveless marriage where I only had sex 5 times in 10 years. 5 times in 10 years. So this is part of the Magdalene story in the sense that in those 10 years, the way I survived it, now who could do that 5 times in 10 years? And it wasn't me, it was him. He didn't want to, so he decided to leave me. He didn't think I was fun anymore, so he left. In that time of having this very difficult relationship, I learned how to seek the divine, seek the beloved. I would go into my closet, literally, and go in and spend hours there and really go deep into the secret place and into the mystical journey. And that's where I learned to really expand and connect very deeply with love. So after he left, I thought I would go in the mission field and go save the world, go to different countries and be a missionary. And then one day as I was coming out of never having sex again, because I said, I'll never have sex again, never get married again. I'm just going to go serve God on the mission field. And one day as I was coming out of my canyon home, going down the hill, my entire body woke up. I had orgasmic waves of bliss that came from my sexual section and went up and down my body. And this happened for a month. Every time I went down the hill, I was having these orgasmic waves. And that was back in 2000. And then I decided, okay, I can't go in the mission field with a body turned on. and never have sex again. And then, hi Baba Dad. And then I was like, okay, well, what's this about? I love God. I love spirit. I love spirit. I've always been that way. And here's my body, very turned on, very, I'm experiencing ecstasy. So how can I match, how can I bring together my love for God and spirit and sexuality and have a fully expressed sexual experience that is sacred? And I began to look online. Back then, in those days, you couldn't find the two words sacred sexuality together. At least I couldn't. And so I put those two words together and I was searching. And I began to create, I said, well, I can't find this, so let me create a community in Orange County, California, and begin to gather people so we can talk about this. Sexuality, spirituality, and put those together. Now, it's now there's a lot of information, and thanks to people like Baba Des and Kamala Devi and others here, we have all this information in these conferences where we can talk about sexuality and we can talk about spirituality together. So, isn't that wonderful? Yeah. So since about 2000, I've been teaching on this and researching this, and I've had my own spiritual tantric practice, my own practice, and then I began to teach this. And then in 2009, and here comes Magdalen, 2009, I had it was the time that everyone is familiar with throughout the world, 2008, 2009, when the economy began to just go crazy. And many people lost homes, and I actually lost everything at that time, and I didn't know what to do. So I would go deep into meditation because I knew I always had a rich, deep connection with spirit, and I would say, God, what am I supposed to be doing? What are we doing? What do you want me to do? Everything is gone. What is my calling? What are we doing now? And Magdalen shows up. So I was averaging about 3 hours a day in meditation, connecting with the divine, and Magdalen shows up. And in that place of connecting deeply inside with the divine, her essence appeared. And as her essence appeared, I began to receive initiations and activations and transmissions and teachings and practices of what she said to me is the Magdalen Egyptian Isis lineage of sacred sexual alchemy. I'd never heard it before. The only thing I knew about Magdalen was what I read about her in the Bible. And what I read about in the Bible was, there's two things that stand out. And by the way, she was always my favorite person in the Bible, always. She was my favorite because she loved, because of her love, her great devotion to her beloved, to Yeshua. I call Jesus Yeshua. People get freaked out about the word Jesus, the name. But Yeshua, the mystic. So all what I knew about Mary Magdalene at that time, before she came and I had this personal experience, was that people called her a prostitute, and it really pissed me off. I'm sorry if I said pissed off, but they called her a prostitute, and that she needed these demons cast out of her, and that this is my favorite part, that the story of her going into a house or a room where there are all these men, and there's Yeshua, And it's a dinner. I believe it's a dinner. And so here she is. I can see her. She enters in. So here's the story. And she brings her bottle, her very expensive spikenard. It's a oil, an anointing oil, very expensive, in an alabaster jar. And then she takes that oil and she begins to anoint the head of Yeshua, the beloved, his hair. And she anoints his body and his feet. And we see a lot of pictures of her prostrate, that's something else, prostrate before Yeshua, and she's anointing, and then she's weeping, and she's crying, and then she takes her hair, and she begins to dry her tears, she just dries him. And it's such an act of devotion, such an act of the higher love. And that is, to me, I connected with her. That place of deep, deep love and reverence and respect and just this juiciness. And guess what? The men were upset in the story. They were upset. Who does she think she is, taking that very expensive oil and like just lavishing it on Yeshua? Doesn't she know that she can take that oil and sell it and we can feed hundreds of people? That tells us it was very expensive. And yet she was fearless. She was fearless. She was in great devotion to the beloved. So those are the two stories. Those are the stories I knew about her. But when she came into my life, and this is 2009, I've been walking with her and proclaiming her power and proclaiming her word, proclaiming everywhere I go, I talk about her. So it's 2009, and she's infused me with these energies and these teachings and these practices and the initiations and transmissions and in very beginning to very, very advanced. In fact, in this book, the Magdalen manuscripts, there's a practice called the Twin Serpent Meditation. Who knows this book? Okay. And who knows the Twin Serpent Meditation practice? Well, Tom Kenyon, I totally esteem him. Tom Kenyon, he shares a little bit on the Twin Serpent Meditation as a sacred sexual alchemical practice. What she gave me was how to do it. So it's not just the reading of it. When I work with men and women, she's given me from beginning to very advanced and how to actually do it, mentoring and how to do it. So why the Magdalene Egyptian Isis lineage of sacred sexual alchemy? It's a long word, long title. This energy, the sacred sexual energy or sacred sexuality, is actually an energy that's a life force energy. Some call it the Kril, K-R-I-L, Vril energy. It's energy that comes from the universe, and it just pours down to us and through us and as us in different cultures, as we know, in the Tantra tradition. Tantra, who knows Tantra? Yeah? Okay, we've heard about that. It's a beautiful tradition. We have the Taoist tradition of sacred sexual alchemy. We have the Kadoshka tradition, which is a Native American tradition of sacred sexual alchemy. It's all the same energy, different traditions, different ways of practicing it. We have a Sumerian tradition. We have a Siberian tradition. I've met Siberian master teachers, amazing, very advanced masters in these traditions. So here we have an Egyptian tradition. And this tradition came from way back in the time when they were celebrating Isis, where there were Isis temples, where there were priestesses who were very, very trained, very masterful in the practices, very advanced, very, very advanced. And we haven't heard about the Egyptian tradition that much. And it skipped, it went underground, as they were talking about in the early ceremonies, how it was underground. It was very underground. Right now, there are actually very advanced, one or two very advanced sacred sexual masters in Egypt. Looking forward to meeting them. So we have this tradition that comes from Egypt, and then went underground and surfaced again in the Christian Gnosticism. So Magdalen and Yeshua, I call them the avatars. They were beings that came from the stars. Now this is from my experience of connecting with Magdalen. They were beings that came from the stars. They're very, very advanced beings who come here to planet Earth for a time and a season to bring us a message to shift the paradigm. Who's with me? I mean, this, even if you don't get it and you're like, what is she saying? Open up the mind and let the light come through and say, okay, maybe, maybe not, but the light will come through and turn on the light codes. I like to weave a story, and so I'm going to go back to my experience with Magdalen when she came to me. When she came to me, not only did I experience, again, these orgasmic waves of bliss for about a good, they stayed with me for about a good 90 days, like just, oh my gosh. And there were light, it was light. It was like light just came. Light just came, and as the light would come, it would literally switch on and turn on light codes within me. So we have DNA, and we have dormant DNA. It's science. This is science. Everything is energy. So we have dormant DNA. All the dormant DNA has information. Yes? It has to be turned on. It has to be switched on. So when I received this light, all of a sudden I had this information. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And it was so beautiful because there were light codes turning on, first of all, in my womb space, which is the center of the universe, right, ladies? Yeah. The womb space, literally, there were light codes turning on in my womb, giving me information, and then it would go up my spine, and of course my pineal would just turn on. And I had information that I didn't have it before. Absolutely. So during my time with the Magdalen, it was all coming, just turning on. It's like someone takes the curtain and pulls it back, and you see everything that's behind. I can take questions. I'm going to have a time of questions right at the end, so you write it down. And where's my timekeeper? Because I want to leave about 15 minutes for questions, okay? How are we with time? Yay! Perfect. So I've got 15 more minutes and then we'll do questions. So the light codes are turning on in my body, and I'm like, okay, this is amazing. Okay, this is amazing, and I'm experiencing this, and then I'm thinking it's just for me, because no one knows this is happening to me back in 2009. And then as about a few months later, I get a call from Belgium, a man. I don't know how he found me or what, but he calls and he says, would you please come to Belgium and initiate us in your Magdalen tradition? And I'm like, whoa. Then I get a call from France. Would you please come to France? I know, I heard, would you please come to France? We want to do a documentary on you, and would you please teach and initiate us in this Magdalen tradition? And I'm like, whoa. And then I get another call from a woman, and she says, would you please come and teach us Tantra? And I said, you know what, I'm not a Tantra teacher, I practice it. There are amazing Tantra teachers out there they've been studying this for a long time and teaching. I practice Tantra, but you know what I can do? I can teach you the path of the Magdalen Egyptian Isis lineage of sacred sexual alchemy. If you get 12 women together in a circle, we will do a circle and I'll teach you these practices, which we did. Two weeks later, we had 12 women in a circle. So I mentored women in this lineage, and then I mentored men as white dragons, because the men are very important. The men come alongside as guardians of the sacred treasures in the feminine, so they come alongside the feminine. And then together, I'm giving you a short version of it, together, the feminine and the masculine together, they come into sacred union. They come together. It's the men and women together, the feminine and masculine together, coming into sacred union together in the highest frequencies of light together. And as they come together in sacred union, or they come together in co-creation, they come together in collaboration, then there becomes an elevation, there becomes a higher frequency that comes in, and something greater comes through and bursts through, so we can shift this paradigm, so we can shift into that which is wanted to come through us, to us and as us. So I'm fast forwarding a little bit to 2010. I'd been creating these beautiful communities in Orange County and teaching on sacred sexuality and then teaching on the Magdalen, the path of the Magdalen. And I was also waiting for my beloved to step in. I mean, I didn't know, I was like, where's my beloved? Where's my beloved? Where's my beloved? And he walked in through the door one day. After all those years of waiting for this being, this person he just, oh my gosh, he walked in and these beautiful blue eyes. He walked into one of my events and these beautiful blue eyes. Here's this man, he is so embodied in his masculine and feminine, so centered and so alive, and so, his energy was so elevated. When he walked in through the door, it was as though both of our energies we just together. It wasn't love at first sight, and it wasn't lust at first sight. It was like, where have you been? Where have you been? And he walked in, and I knew that here was my beloved, and this was going to be the most significant relationship ever in my life. And when he walked in, my feminine was able to get into a place of relaxation and bring forth the greatest thing I was called to bring forth in this lifetime. And I didn't know that when the true masculine walks into I didn't know this, that when he would walk into my life, that years of stress would just melt. It was just an amazing thing. And we co-created, we have had, I say had, well, he's on the other side, what's called a dharmic relationship. Karmic relationship is when you have a lot of drama and trauma. A dharmic relationship is when you have a relationship that's called to something higher, called to something greater wants to come through you. Karma, drama and trauma. Dharma, your greatest work is coming through. So we had this relationship. We were bringing forth the path of the Magdalen together, beautifully, harmonious, just beautiful. And then he left. He transitioned in 2012, the end of 2012. And he helps me from the other side. He's here right now celebrating and say, hi. No. The path of the Magdalen. Magdalen was a wealthy woman, and she was a powerful woman. And how does that affect us? What does that mean for us today? How do we know she was wealthy? Well, the alabaster bowl. We know the alabaster jar. We know because she, and the ones that she was over, the women that she was over, they were supporting the ministry of Christ. They were feeding hundreds. They were feeding and housing and hundreds. So that makes her wealthy. Yes? Yes. She was powerful, and she was a co-teacher. She was co-teaching and co-leading with Yeshua, with Christ. She was co-healing. She was co-teaching. She was co-preaching. At least this is what she tells me. But when you read the Gospels, you have to go into the deeper meanings. You have to really go in and see what it's really saying. And then you connect with Spirit and say, okay, what's the truth here? She was powerful. She still is powerful. What does this mean to us today? We, as women, can tap into her energy, and so can the men. We can tap into her energy of her being a powerful woman, her being a wealthy woman, her being an effectual woman, her being a spiritual woman, her being coming together, her being a sexual woman, because she absolutely was trained at a high degree of sacred sexual alchemy in the temples of Isis in Egypt, and so was Yeshua. They both were very highly evolved beings and highly trained in not only the sacred sexual mastery, but in other esoteric magical things that they needed to bring forth and break open the paradigm of the time. And I'm very inspired to say that this is what's coming forth now. This is what's wanting to come forth now. They were highly evolved, and they were sent to planet Earth at that time to crack hearts open and shift us into what is wanting to come forth. And what is wanting to come forth is this higher frequency of love. We all have projects that are high vibrating that wants to come forth. So when we have the feminine and the masculine together, united together within ourselves first, in relationship, we can create this vessel that allows the immaculate concept to come forth. I'm speaking a lot in a kind of a mystical term right now, an esoteric kind of, please bear with me. I get very inspired. I'm just inspired to, she's... I'm just inspired because, Magdalen has been very maligned in at least where I live and from what I know. Who do you think anointed Yeshua for the greatest ministry that came forth? And I know my time is about to, I'm going to give you time for questions, but I got to say this. Only the priests, high priests, and priestesses anointed kings and priests in those days. Yeshua came from a lineage of priests and kings. She was preparing him for the greatest ministry. She was preparing him through that anointing. That special oil was created with specially very holy sacred herbs, specifically to anoint priests and kings. She was anointing her beloved because she knew he was going to be tortured and go through what he went through. So she was there. She knew. They both knew what was going to happen. She was anointing him as king, as priest, and as her beloved. Together they were doing the sacred sexual alchemy to create the greatest expression of love in that time. They were doing that. They knew what they were doing. And she was high priestess of Isis. She was anointing Yeshua. for the greatest ministry yet. So I'm going to conclude here, we have the opportunity to tap into the energy of the Magdalen, the energy of Yeshua, this higher Christed energy. It's a higher Christed energy. We can tap into that and allow ourselves to be vessels of what wants to come forth as the corporate body. We can be the corporate Christ energy, the higher frequencies of light and love and sacred union. We can do that. We do that first within ourselves, and then we do that with one another. Magdalen, I want to leave you with this. Magdalen was wealthy. Magdalen was powerful. Don't let anyone ever say anything less than that. She was beautiful, and she was a master of the sacred sexual alchemy. She was a master of the sacred sexual arts. So was Yeshua. They both had to be, to do what they were called to do. So now I'm ready to take questions. I'm going to repeat your question when you ask it.
My question involves the symbolism of the Madonna, and I guess on your altar is, I guess, the Black Madonna, and that was referred to in the opening ceremony. And of course, Yeshua's mother, also Mary, is usually the Madonna. So how does Magdalene, Yeshua's beloved, relate to the Madonna in terms of the symbology and, you know, the picture on your altar?
Well, the Black Madonna and Mary, Mother Mary is not always my focus. It's not my primary focus, and I'm still learning about the Black Madonna. But I want to say this: we all come from the mother. Yes, we all come from the mother. Yes, okay. Unless you've been in a test tube somewhere, we all come from the mother, and the mother is a dark mother. The mother we come from is a black mother. Way back in Africa. That's my answer to you for right now. Next question? Everybody's like, what? I am white. But do your research. We all come from the mother way back. And we all come from the stars. We go way back, yes. Whose name? Lucy, yes, the African mother. Lucy, she's beautiful. She's actually, your mother's very beautiful. She's trigueñita. That means in Puerto Rican, it's like a tannish brown, beautiful curly hair. She's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you met your beloved, did you, and if this is going, you know, getting too personal or whatever, were you able to finally explore the sexual union with?
Oh, yes. I've been waiting for that for a long time. I was actually celibate all those years until I met him, purposely. Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, when we made love, it was like, I mean, literally the masks. I saw the masks just the mask just fade away, and I saw Christ. I mean, literally, I was like, I mean, it just, and I could literally see his face change into a very holy image. And yeah, we did. We did a lot. That's why I'm like, where are you? Come back here. Yeah.
Were you able to have that inform the ritual work and everything else?
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of information in your sacred sexual act, your sacred sexual alchemy, yeah, a lot, yes. It informed, and it still informs me. Yeah, it still does, thank you. Yeah, in our expression, we were able to open up, I mean, it literally opened up I call it the celestial area. I feel like I didn't totally answer your question, but I will afterwards, yeah. The heavens just opened up. I mean, literally, we were able to ascend into the very, very, very high areas where the celestial beings and the masters are, and bring forth information, more information. Yeah, it's very beautiful. I wish this for everyone. Yes?
Would this be considered more tantra as far as the channeling of the higher, you know, the distinction between lust, you know, we talk about sexuality and we sort of go a certain place, you know, in our consciousness. And the tantra, it seems to me that you're speaking of tantra in that you're opening up, like the channels are opening upward into a more meditative, cosmic.
It can be. It can be considered that, yes. There are different levels of Tantra. There are different levels, and we have some beautiful Tantra masters here. There are different degrees and levels of it. With everything else, there's different levels, just like you go to school. So you have different levels. So you have someone who comes in to Tantra at the beginning level, then you have the very advanced masters who actually do some very powerful work in the heavenly realm, not just for us. I mean, not just for your own pleasure and yumminess, but the higher expression of it is for humanity.
But when you speak about sacred sexuality, you're talking about yumminess in connection with
that and more. Yeah. Yumminess, passion, all of that, ecstatic, bliss, but even more. There's even more. Because really, what is our sexual energy for? It is, procreation, having wonderful, yummy sex, but there's something greater. I mean, there's humanity that can, Laurie Handler is going to be speaking on sex magic, and when you use your orgasmic energy, you can use it for something very, very powerful. You can send it into your car body, and which gives you the ability not only for protection, but also to manifest in the world, manifest things in the world, and also to open up the higher frequencies. Yeah. Yes. Time, before I take that, time? How many? Did you say 18? 80? No. 8? 18. Oh, goody! Yes?
I was just wondering what your thoughts were around integrating the sacred sexuality with the heart and intelligence, because I often find we connect with sexuality, we connect with the higher level stuff, but then the intelligence in the heart gets lost.
So for you, you're wondering about the connection of the sexuality and connecting it to the heart and intelligence. From my experience, and again, we have some really powerful, we have Kamala Devi and Baba Des back there. From my experience, especially with this practice, with the sacred sexual alchemy in the path of Magdalen, as I am moving that energy up, and when I teach my students, and I'm moving it up through the chakra systems, then it connects not only does it connect all my chakras, it also connects all my meridians, all the energetic pathways. It gives me information. I'm informed. My pineal is like waves, like woo. And then, here, and then we can connect through, to the. So yes, it does give us the intelligence. It gives us information. It informs us, and it's yummy. I mean, come on, we're in these bodies, and it feels good. It's like feels good. Yeah. Does that help? Yeah, very expansive, yes. And not only for ourselves, but when we're in partnership, I say ourselves because in our tradition, we have to master the energy ourselves first. If you don't have the mastery, if you don't have that flow, you come with a partner and he does or she does, then that's not fair. Everybody, let's work it. Everybody work it, yeah? Yeah, yes?
Can you tell us more about the book?
This, Tom Kenyon, it's not my book, but it's Tom Kenyon, and it's an amazing book. Tom Kenyon is, I believe his background psychotherapy and sound research. He's very analytical, and then he had an experience. We wake up, he had a wake-up experience. He and his wife, this is the short version, he and his wife were traveling and had an experience with Mary Magdalene. And together they were channeling, the skeptic was channeling Mary Magdalene, and she was writing it, and You'll see books on Mary Magdalene that are some are historical, some are religious, some are channels. And then there's people who, they think they're Mary Magdalene. I do not think I'm Mary Magdalene. I'm just a voice piece. There are people who think they're Mary Magdalene. There are people who think they're Jesus, right? So this is a channeled book. But it's also backed up with, Tom Kenyon in the back of the book has, he compares the different systems of sacred sexuality, the Tao, the Tantra, the Egyptian, he compares it. But the part in the beginning is a channeled work. And I really, really feel, in my experience, that it's right on. And there are some channeled books about Mary Magdalene, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? There were 13 Mary Magdalenes, you know. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. But everybody has their own expression. Yes, lady.
I just read a book called I Remember Union.
That's a wonderful book, too. Yeah. I Remember Union. Yeah. One of my favorite books that I'm reading right now, because it is a Gnostic tradition. Now, the Gnostics, it means that you have a personal knowing of the divine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have 10 minutes. You have a personal knowing. It's like you, and I encourage all of us, get into your quiet space and connect with the divine within. Because you're powerful, you're majestic, you're radiant, you're magnificent. You're all here, you're my teachers. And when you connect with the beloved within, then you have an amazing love affair. You have all the knowledge in the world and all the wealth in the world. And you know, Gnostic means knowing, so you know. So in the Gnostic, where was I going with this? With the Gnostic tradition, it's the knowing, and that's why I can share what I know. I'm sharing what I know about the Magdalene. It's on my own personal experience. Yeah.
I'm curious your insight into what happens with the emotional body through this process of initiation and merging and alchemy.
Thank you. It is a process of initiation. And I've been initiated. I've gone through a lot of fire and a lot of trauma. Now, I don't say trauma. Yeah, I did. I mean, when my partner left, I was devastated. You know, it's like I was crashed. I mean, chaos. You know, everything went, everything dissolved. And it was a deep process of initiation. So the emotions of grief. So I did experience the emotions of ecstatic love, deep connecting. I mean, all the beautiful, joyful, celebrating experiences when we were together. And I was doing this, bringing this forth. And then on the other side, sacred grief. And it's all good. Grief is sacred. And as I was going through it, I believe grief has been my greatest teacher. Because when the love of my life was gone, I was like, I wanted to leave. I was ready to die. I was thinking of ways, how could I take myself out right now? And I'm like, you can't do that, because then you gotta leave all these information for your children, and you gotta tell them where this is at. And by the time I was trying to figure out how to, what I had to do before I somehow left this body or commit suicide, as they say, I got exhausted. And I'm like, this is not gonna work, so you better figure out how to live here on planet Earth and create a new life. Get it? And I found out, the other thing I found out is like, death is not the end of it. He's still alive. He's on the other side. My next book is called Twin Flames from Beyond the Veil, a true mystical love story. So the process of initiation, with this process, we clean and clear. The alchemical process, the sacred sexual alchemy, it's cleaning and it's clearing all the time. You need 3 things for alchemy. You need the fire, and the fire is what? In this tradition, it's the sex. It's the fire of love and the fire of sexuality. You need a container. You need the container, the chalice. My logo is the golden chalice. You need a chalice, you need a crucible. And I call that the womb area. And by the way, men have wombs also. And then you need something to transmute. And the old alchemists, or the alchemists we hear of, they were transmuting lead into gold. So in us, coming back to your question, when we use the sacred sexual alchemy, we take the fire of love and sexuality, we have that crucible or that chalice, and then it's transmuting those things within us that are patterns, habits, thoughts, limitations, sometimes even illnesses, and it literally transmutes it into something greater and higher. Love, joy, prosperity, abundance, right living. Does that help? Oh yeah, the emotions get worked. The initiate's path is not an easy path, at least not in this lifetime. You know, it's a true initiate is really called on a mission, and they're saying, okay, I see that. I mean, Yeshua and Magdalen, they were initiates. They were like, they just went for it, and look what they experienced. They experienced a lot. I mean, all hell broke loose against them. And she, you know, Magdalen was a woman. She was an avatar, but she was a woman. She was a woman in love with her man. Sounds like a song we can sing. You know, but she was a woman in love with her man. And she knew from the beginning, they knew from the beginning because they were both shot. I actually saw this. Here's this beautiful bubble, this beautiful higher vibrating expression of love in the celestial area, wherever you want to call it. And then these two flames get shot out, male and female. They knew what they were doing when they came to planet Earth. They knew what they were getting into. They knew it was going to be difficult. They were in human bodies.
Yes.
Do you believe that it's only possible once in your lifetime? You can't meet another beloved?
Twin flames, you mean? Well, I teach on twin flames and soulmates, but no, I believe we could have another beloved because he went to the other side, and I'm like, wait a minute, you either come back.
Exactly.
You either come back, or or maybe you can send somebody who can love me as much as you did, take care of me as well as you did. Maybe it's not you, but I have to believe that I have another chance at this, and that is just as good or better than what I had, and that's a high. He was some man. One last question before I wrap up.
You may have already answered this indirectly, but does Magdalen have a specific message for how to self-heal sexual wounds and traumas? Wounds from sexual trauma.
So here's the question. Does Magdalen have a message on how to heal wounds from sexual trauma? Now, in the work that I do work with Sacred Union. I work with couples. I'm actually focusing on couples a lot more now in Sacred Union. The message from Magdalen, if it were a message from her, one of the messages from her is, yeah, heal. Heal. Yes, the sacred sexual energy does heal. And there are so many beautiful teachers and healers out there where we can get the healing for sexual wounds. When we heal this, there's so much more. Let's get past the woundings. When we heal, especially us women, when we heal the wounds, and men too, because when I work with men, I'm like, wow, our brothers are just as wounded. Because guess what? They came from the mother. And if the mother's wounded, the children are wounded. I mean, not all wounded. I mean, there are degrees of wounding. You know, So yes, let's heal. And beyond heal, let's be whole. And guess what? Not to deny that we need to be the healings, but we are already whole. We are already magnificent. We are already radiant and powerful and wealthy. We are already there. Somehow we've been programmed or had experiences that tell us that we're less than or that we're broken. You know, and believe me, I've been through it. I've had sexual abuse in my life, and I've been abused. I've had all of that. But I came through it I just came through it. Not easy, but I came through it, and I'm choosing wholeness. And anytime I hear the little voice in me that says, "You're not enough," you know, "Who do you think you are?" You know, all those different things. I just like, get out of here. I am supported and loved. I am love, love, love. I am loved. I am love. I am whole. All that I need is within me. I am divine. I am powerful. And so with this, I want to say, I'm wrapping up. If you are in a committed relationship this weekend, I am available to give you a transmission for Sacred Union to allow your relationship to go up to the next level of what wants to come through you. So I am available. I work with couples. I am available to talk to you if you're a single male or female. I have, these are in the bookstore, a little picture of me, but on the back, it says Ayanna, Avatar of Love, Intimacy Expert, Sacred Union, Twins, Flames, and Soulmates. I love talking on that. And please sign, I'm going to leave a sign-in sheet in the bookstore, and you can sign up if you like to receive information from me or any way you want to contact me. And actually, we're out of time, right? Get your question?
Quick, I just wanted to know, are you going to be available in the afternoon also for couples and stuff?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'll be in and out of workshops too, but yeah, I'm available. I will take an appointment. Yeah. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ayanna, very much. Yeah, Ayanna, you guys, another round of applause. Perfect follow-up to our opening.